That report from Mark Coughlin. As I said, I'm joined here now by two Dublin City councillors, Éilis from the Workers' Party and Paul McCullough from Fianna Fáil. Éilis, I was listening to you there in the film, but isn't there a danger that people remember fondly O'Devney Gardens, where we are here tonight, but it had huge social problems, and a lot of people believe you're better off to have the mix of public housing and private ownership, that it's a better mix, and for instance in terms of unemployment, it helps to ease that problem.
Well, I suppose the first thing I would say is that we keep hearing this line that public housing causes social problems without much evidence to back it up. And in terms of O'Devney Gardens, the community that campaigned for better housing here, they never campaigned for non-public housing. They campaigned for investment in facilities, investment in youth services, investment in jobs. Those are the things that regenerate a community. And the second point I would say is that we have O'Devney Gardens here behind us, and we can see the state it's in. It's not public housing that left it in that state, it's a private developer. And I feel that going back to exactly the same model of private development again is unlikely to get us any different results.
And yet you say it, that there aren't problems from just having public housing. We heard Lorcan Sir there in Mark's film, and he's saying, but it does, evidence shows that it does prolong almost a cycle of unemployment.
I think that where we are with social housing at the moment in Ireland is that because the government has failed to build any social houses in so long, the group of people living in social housing has narrowed and narrowed and narrowed. It's an unusual thing and not the model that anybody advocating public housing would push for, that a majority of people living in public housing, for example, are unemployed, and that's not what we're calling for with our model at all.
Paul McCullough, from your point of view, I know you focus on Ballymun, but everyone knows we need more social housing. We're desperate for it. And are you suggesting that somewhere like here, O'Devney Gardens, if it gets 500 nice new houses, that shouldn't go to the people who are most needy, who need it the most?
No, absolutely, and that's one of the reasons we're 2 years on now from the Land Initiative come to us first. We're 15 months on from the Homeless Summit, and we haven't seen delivery. And what I don't want now is a new idea coming along which pauses delivery and means O'Devney isn't delivered. And there's much needed social housing there. But what we also need, though, is we don't need to repeat the planning mistakes of the past. And from my own area in Ballymun, a fantastic area, but we're having real difficulties because of the concentration of low-income housing. We can't attract a supermarket into the area to build a shopping centre. And if you've got kids that do well through the programmes that we've implemented, go on to college, they can't come back and buy houses close to their family. And so you have to have a social mix. It's a basic aspiration for many people to own their home. And while I've no issue with the idea of a mixed income, which Éilis has proposed, it's far too late in the process now, and I think it's far too late for O'Devney, because the danger is we sterilise what's behind us and we get no delivery.
It's far too late, Éilis.
Well, I mean, the first thing I would say is that the public-private partnership that we tried the last time collapsed in 2008, and the proposal that's coming from the council at the moment is pretty much yet another public-private partnership. So in terms of delays, I would wonder whether the thing that has delayed us for 8 years is going to deliver anything else different this time. The second thing I would say is that while the council and a majority of councillors on the council have been pushing for a privatisation of this land, their own proposal has not been finalised for O'Devney Gardens. It was due to be brought back to councillors with financing costings last January, February, and it never happened. We still haven't seen that. In the interim period, the Workers' Party have put forward a proposal which is fully costed, which has the backing of a number of economists and housing experts for a mixed income public housing development. And we feel that if we're to really address the housing crisis that's not only low-income families but also many households up to 50, 60, 70,000 euro are facing, that it's essential that that's the model that's pursued.
Paul, can we really afford, can I just say before being wrong, can we really afford, I suppose, to subsidise houses maybe for people who are earning about 70,000 euro? Are they the most desperate people that the state should be subsidising a home over their heads?
So the first thing I would say is that we don't believe that the state only has an obligation to deliver housing for people who are desperate. Just like education, we believe that it's a public good that the state has an obligation to deliver for everybody. However, the reality is that the only reason the state is subsidising housing is because it refuses to provide it for anybody except the worst off.
But if there's a limited pot, should you not give it to the most needy?
So our proposal is that rent would increase in line with income, and that would mean that the overall income that the council gets from housing actually increases, and by that it would actually reduce the overall subsidy that the council has to give.
Paul McCullough.
Look, I've no issue with a mixed tenure. The problem at the moment is that Rebuilding Ireland, the government's document, talks about mixed tenure estates and mixed development estates, but it doesn't deliver it. The department has instructed us not to deliver affordable housing in the city, which is chronic because there's huge numbers of people living with their parents, living with their kids and grandparents together in one house, and they've have no method of either purchasing, and yet they're seen as being too wealthy for social housing. So we absolutely need the mixed tenure. The only way of delivering that at the moment is by a mix of public and private. And when I say private, I'm talking about affordable housing. I'm not talking about large private developments here. I'm talking about 2- and 3-bedroom houses that people can buy.
Éilis, Paul, I have to leave it there. I'm very sorry. Thank you both for standing here with me. It's a bit cold, so I appreciate it very much. Back to you, Dave, in studio.